From terror to teaching, a former member of the domestic terror group, the Weather Underground, has apparently been enjoying a $40,000 a year teacher's pension on your dime. A new book reveals that Ronald Fliegelman was the bomb guru for the radical group, who was able to transition after he built bombs. Eventually, he became a teacher in New York City, where he worked for 25 years quietly. While our next guest's family fell victim to the Weather Underground in February of 1970, the group firebombed John Murtaugh's house because his father was a New York judge hearing a case against the Black Panthers. Thankfully, they all survived. And John Murtaugh joins us live with his reaction. Your reaction to the fact that this guy was a teacher for 25 years?
Well, unfortunately, Steve, my reaction is no surprise at all. If you go down the list of former radicals, former Weather Underground members, and frankly, former murderers, you find them everywhere from Columbia University to, I'm embarrassed to say, Fordham University, where I graduated, Northwestern, and so on and so forth.
They become teachers. It's the tenure thing. That way, when they find out, hey, you know, we did some research and you were a former terrorist, well, sorry, can't touch you.
Well, but, you know, the irony here is a former terrorist. You know, I wrote a piece about a year ago. 30 years from now, are we going to give Mr. Tsarnaev up in Boston tenure at Columbia the way we gave Kathy Boudin, who was convicted of murder in the Brinks job, tenure?
The thing about this particular guy is he was a bomb maker, and they tried to kill your family. Explain the situation.
Well, worse than that is they succeeded in killing other people. I mean, thankfully, my house was firebombed when my dad was a judge. The house was damaged. None of the individuals inside. My father, my mother, and myself and two siblings were asleep in the house in the middle of the night. I was 9 years old. Luckily, none of us were physically injured. But the fact is, talk to the family of Officer McDonnell out in San Francisco, who was murdered by a shrapnel bomb. Talk to the families of Ed O'Grady and Waverly Brown, two police officers in Rockland County who were ambushed in 1981 by Kathy Boudin and the Weather Underground. Talk to those people. They widowed 3 women and orphaned 9 children in one afternoon in 1981. And now Kathy Boudin is teaching at Columbia University. Explain that to me.
Yeah, no kidding. What about, and we know about this guy, the bomb maker, because the guy's written a new book. Mr. Burroughs has written a book. This Fliegelman fella said, you know, what's the big deal? People were not hurt by our bombs. That's a load of you-know-what, isn't it?
Well, you know, again, that's the trope, and Bill Ayers has said that for years, that the only thing they did was commit property damage, and my response to that has always been it wasn't for lack of trying, and just because you're frankly an inept terrorist doesn't make you any less a terrorist. They didn't, they committed damage to my house. They tried to kill us. It was just damage to the house. It wasn't for lack of trying to do more. Indeed, the Weather Underground members themselves have said that 3 weeks later, when they blew up the townhouse, the bomb factory in Greenwich Village, it was precisely because they were disappointed with what had happened at my house. They were taking it up a notch.
So they tried to kill your family. They did blow up buildings. They killed people as well. But then, because of the Supreme Court, they came out and they said, okay, you guys surveilled them. We're going to have to throw out all these cases. These people walked.
Well, some walked, some went into hiding, some surfaced years later after statutes of limitations had run. Kathy Boudin, in fact, did hard time in prison for the 1981 murders of the police officers and the Brinks Guard. But if you read her Columbia biography, she was a community organizer.
Right. But if they had done a better job at building a bomb, you'd be dead.
Well, unfortunately, 3 weeks later, they tried to build nail and dynamite bombs to bomb a military installation at Fort Dix, New Jersey.
I can hardly wait to read this book. John Murtaugh, thank you very much.
Steve, thank you.